Yes. It's sort of like what happened when I first started speaking outside of recovery. I didn't think people should have any trouble. They had a doing well in life. They had everything. And then I realized I saw spiritual seeking as an addiction itself. And then I saw they were actually sicker in a way than an alcoholic, because the alcoholic and the addict tend to get out there and call attention on themselves, where spiritual seekers can keep seeking and seeking and seeking for a long, long, long time. And there's not going to be an intervention or anyone to sort of put a stop to it. Yes. And the people that are engaged in it, there becomes So when I saw that, then that opened up a whole new thing, because I saw whatever comes before, which is us in some act, like mind, big mind, and it's before everything else. That before really makes what comes after. So spiritual seeking can be incredibly beautiful. Spiritual seeking can be an incredible delusionary event. Yeah, it's not the spiritual seeking itself, it's us before it. Yeah, so if us before it is identified as, let's say, Paul, and then Paul is looking to get out of Paul, and he looked to get out of Paul by drinking, he looked to get out of Paul by drugs, he looked to get out of Paul by reading science fiction, and then he looks to get out of Paul through spiritual seeking. Basically, it's the same drive. It's just different vehicles, yeah? And so, but each vehicle is pronounced to have, like, there's a nobility in spiritual seeking where there isn't in alcoholism, unless you're a writer or something, then maybe you'll find nobility in being pissing on yourself drunk. There is a little bit of romanticism and drug addiction, but spirituality is given a nobility. And so it's seen as a different vehicle, but the same addictive activity can express through spiritual seeking, just as it does through drug addiction, sex addiction, and money, and everything like that. And I didn't know that when I was young. I did believe that spirituality had a certain sacred immunity, and that it was going to be different than the other the searches I had, like searching for drugs, searching for this, searching for that. But over time, after years in a way of constantly blaming myself for the failures of spiritual seeking, it came to a point that I heard a message, and that message explained exactly what was going on. And the message was, self can't get out of self. And the way I'm using the word self isn't the all and everything. I'm using it as the act of being identified as the doer, the thinker, the feeler, the seer, the hearer, the taster, yes? So the activities of life are being claimed by a mental state and then attributed, and the attribution appears as a body. So when they're seeing, there's a feeling that I'm seeing as the body, yeah? So when there's the movement of consciousness through, it feels, to me, it gets translated very quickly that I'm the one who's seeing, yeah? So the body is the one that's conscious. Instead of consciousness moving through the hose, let's say, instead of water moving through the hose knowing it's water, the hose now thinks it's the water, yeah? Yes? So the water gets forgotten by the claiming that it's the hose. And now it's the activity of the water is attributed to the hose. Yeah. So is there any need to find out more about water in that case? No. What you need to find out is about the hose, so that you see that you're not the hose from water. Yeah. Instead of trying to see you're the water from the hose, you see you're not the hose from the water. Yeah. You don't want to keep trying to convince the hose that it's water, which is what happens a lot in spiritual areas. They're trying to tell us what water's like, but we're hearing it as a hose. You know, so the only thing the hose can do in the frame of being a doer is to try to do water. Yeah, so it tries to do water as a hose, and it's just a fundamental oomph that you can't get out of. Once there's a seeming in it, you can't get out of it. Yeah, it's just that simple. So the whole message for me is not to describe what we are, it's to sort of describe what we're not, you know, so that what you are can recognize it, finally, hopefully, yeah. And when there's a recognition of it, you will also recognize the mental state comes up very quickly and claims to be the one that recognized it, yeah. So now you see yourself in a way masquerading as the thief and as the policeman, and this whole little act of trying to get out of me as me. And then you realize the only way to get out of an imaginary place is to realize you're not in it. You know, you can't get out of an imaginary place. It's imaginary. The more you try to get out of it, the more reality you're giving to it. You don't see that, but that's what's actually happening. I'm trying to get out of something that is inherently not real, and by my wanting to get out of it, I make it real, yeah? And so now, what can bound me can seem to bind me. It's just that simple. So this isn't about, all right, there's a methodology that we can get into the spirit. There's a way we can get into the spirit. It hasn't been, we just found out about it. It was hidden for 8,000 years in a cave in Tibet, underneath a couple of rocks. Someone found out, I heard about it, and here it is. This is the way we're gonna get out. It doesn't matter, because you're not in, yeah? You're not in that which you wanna get out of. It's just that simple. So, the dilemma is, the system is very fast at reforming. So let's say if there's an epiphany or a big whack, usually that epiphany ends with the thought, I'm having an epiphany. You don't see that something's there, yeah? So as soon as you show up, the you that you're not, to claim the epiphany, it seems to end. And you can't make it be there for you, see? Because it's what's there absent of that which is already absent. That's what happens. When the presence takes itself to be that which is absent, a lot of shit is absent to it. Its own nature becomes absent to it, and then it's trying to find out what it is from what it's not. It doesn't work, yeah? I mean, you're gonna get better as a physicalness, as a person, that's great. I mean, let's call it what it is. But to believe that we're on a journey to find out what we are, to me, is insane. I think we're on a journey to find out what we're not. Yeah. So when we see what we're not, then you'll find out what you are. Yeah. And you are awake, in a sense. And basically, as soon as that becomes obvious, you lose interest in all the incredible, intricate facets of what that would be like to be awake. You're just like uninterested in all that. You're just interested in awakeness. Yeah, you're interested in being here. Yeah, not because of what's here, but because you're here. Yeah, that's simple. Yeah. And then the interest and attention that you may need to navigate a day, and even now in the pandemic, you don't need much. I go from the kitchen to the bed, to the bathroom, to the backyard. There's not much. I don't need like 400,000 thoughts to navigate a day here. You know, I have like, basically I could do it in my sleep. So this opportunity is to see the grinding of time in the selfing, yeah? To see that selfing, the idea of being you, is manufactured and reinforced in time, yeah? And it's sort of like, maybe when we're all in a seeming time out, maybe in that forced time out, we can check out what it feels like. Maybe you'll recognize the dry current as if it's wet of time. Maybe you'll get a sense of it and see what an influence time is. And there is no thing called time, it's an activity. But the interest is unbelievable. The influence is unbelievable, because right now, what you are is not based or conditioned in time. Right now, what you're not is completely based and conditioned in time. It's a product of time, yeah? So you as Paul has to be remembered. Yeah? It's remembered by memories of the past, and it's remembered by worrying about someone in the future, yeah? Seen as a body, and memories of a past pictured as a body, yeah? So the mental state is constantly in a super quick movement is I was Paul, I will be Paul, therefore I am Paul. And immediately it takes ownership of now, yeah? It takes ownership of now, and now starts worshiping there and then, really. So you cannot not be here, but the mental state is obsessed with yesterday and tomorrow. So it uses here to think about yesterday and tomorrow. I mean, you have to see something in that, yeah? If you have such value in the thought system, then see what the thought system values, yeah? If you're believing thoughts, or if there's a belief in thoughts, then why not see what the thoughts believe, yeah? So basically the thought system is of time, yeah? It's thinking, constantly assuming and implying and projecting and reflecting on a you, yeah? Reinforcing it constantly. Every time there's something that's done, there's the sense of being the doer, and it's always one. There's tons of doing during the day, there's one doer that's doing it. Tons of seeing, one seer. Tons of hearing, one hearer. Tons of feeling, one feeler. Right? You have to see it, yeah? What the living is seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. The mental state's interpretation of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching is it implies a seer, a hearer, a feeler, a taster, a toucher. And that's what it emphasizes, yeah? It emphasizes a product that comes after the claiming of living, to be that which is living. It puts what comes after before. So now consciousness is obvious. Consciousness is before the thought of Paul. They're seeing that's before the thought of Paul. But when the thought of Paul arises, it claims it's the seer. Yeah? So now the seeing, the hearing, the feeling, the tasting, the touching, the onness, where there's no off switch until you pass away, that onness, yeah, the mental state can't get rid of it. What it does is just claims that really what it means is there's a Paul that's on. There's a Paul that's seeing. And that Paul is what we're not. It's just a mental contraption that is put in place of what we are. And therefore, we see life from that singular point, and it's called self-centeredness. That's it. And then we're missing this whole thing, willing to jump on a giant spiritual journey as the problem. We don't see any of the basics of what's going on, but we move that all along to arrive at this super conceptual idea of being awake and stabilized and super clear at all times, never upset by anything, never touched by any adversity, whatever it may be. Yeah, all this is just fabrication. Yeah? Get to the root and see what's going on. That's the quality we have available, always available, is the seeing. Nothing is before the seeing. So we attempt, and see the Zoom is different because it's a different platform. So I'm not a real zealot about questions, yeah, usually, because I feel if you starve the questioner and you leave them with their own devices, maybe they'll see they're not their own devices, yeah? So what's so important to have a question asked may not be you that's so interested in it. It may be what you're not that's interested in it, yeah? Why would I want to feed that? So we have a thing in recovery called abstinence. So abstinence is, it's a beautiful space. It's hard to, you can't put a, like mileage or how big or large the space is. But abstinence is, you're in a space that you never start drinking. Yeah. So there's no need to figure out ways of how to stop. You never start. Yeah. You're placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. You're just there, free from that. It's unbelievable, really. Now, I don't see why that can't be applied to thought, yeah? I don't. You're not going to stop thought because you never started the thoughts, yeah? But you can lose interest in thoughts. You can. And if you lose interest in thoughts, what happens is, instead of the thoughts taking up all the space, there'll be the sense of the space the thoughts appear in. Seriously. Instead of the thoughts, like filling the screen, instead of that, the thoughts will appear on the screen and there'll be a large amount of screen there. I mean, it seems simple, but you know how many thoughts are arising? Could you imagine if just that switch, where instead of the thoughts filling the screen, the space that they're appearing in was more dominant? That would be unbelievable. You would probably, all your spiritual searches would stop right there. They would. You would just feel, you would have a sense of contentment and satisfaction, more discontentment and an ease that wouldn't provoke much looking for anything else, yeah? And then, but other stuff would download. You would see, you would learn about shit without going out there and studying, yeah? You'd learn about it. It would just come in and you'd be informed of a lot of stuff without looking for the information. And then you would, that information would allow you to see what you weren't seeing before. And then you would see what's happening here. You would see how it's manufactured and how that which comes after, which is an idea of Paul, is constantly assumed to be before everything, yeah? So we're living in a world where we think nouns are primary and then there's verbs. But in fact, this is just verbing. There's a set of verbing that I call selfing, which is what selfing does. It implies a noun, yeah? It implies a noun. So when something happens, the head says, it happened to me or I did it, yes, basically. That, yeah. So there's that claiming of it. And so suddenly the happening, it becomes singular and it gets frozen and it's framed as a noun. So this happened to me or I did it and stuff. This is the bondage of self. The bondage of self is feeling or sensing you're a noun in a world of verbing, really. The bondage of self is sensing you're a noun in a world of verbing. Yeah. We have so many opportunities, so many people, sports people, they go into zones, they call it. In surfing, you just lose yourself, or in sex or something like that, or painting, or whatever it may be. Hopefully, at least you have one or a few passions that bring it out of you, yeah? So there's a lot of time when you feel the lifting of all that stuff of time and thoughts and everything like that, and it's a really freaking cool space, yes? But what's the importance is what's absent. There's no observer of the space. That comes after. There's no one who's in the space. That comes after. The idea that was one. It's an absence of stuff. That's where you're shooting, you're hitting every basket or whatever is going on, you're catching every wave. It's just, or you're one with the ocean, all these things. That story that you're one with the ocean doesn't happen when you're one with the ocean. It happens after, yeah? When you get on the beach, you now tell your friends, oh, I was one with the ocean. When you're one with the ocean, there's not a story being written about being one with the ocean. Who would write the story? Yeah, it's after. So living is before, you and I arrive after. But the story is we were there. I mean, why would you want to go through the hieroglyphics of another planet in the 12th dimension of spirituality? Just look there. There's a lot more knowledge in that than all this arcane knowledge you can pick up. The knowledge of what you're not, seeing what you're not, getting an understanding of what you're not, and a recognition of what you're not. Yeah. To have that has a lot of value here. And what it does is this, the whole accumulation of what you're not has a deep realization that it's the obscuring agent, that it's not going to get out of it, yeah? That it can't leave it and still be it, yeah? It can't pull it off. It's tried, I mean, religiously with drugs and everything else, and it's come to a rude awakening. I can't, it's not my pay scale, you know? It's not my, I don't have that ability isn't in the programming. That's when it gets really nice, yeah? Suddenly there's a real sense of surrender, finally. Every time I try to grab, that which I'm trying to grab becomes very evasive. Now, it's inherently invasive, or is it my wanting to grab it? First you think it's evasive, but it's your wanting to grab it, yeah? So you realize, Jesus, I can't get it with this, I can't get it this way, I can't act like I don't want to get it and get it. You just see, you lose interest in that, and then you find out interest in what you really are, which is not of the body. Yeah, you're not of thing, you're not of time, as Jesus says. You're in this world, and so if you look like, what would the world look like if you're in it? Time, separation, things, yeah? And then Jesus negated that by saying, but you're not of it, yeah? So he lets you feel that it's what it's like to be in the world. Hey, yeah, but you're not of the world, yeah? So that's inclusive. It's not like you got to deny you're in the world while you're in the world. It doesn't work. There's an acceptance, yes, I'm in the world, but there's also an acceptance I'm not of the world, yeah? That's unbelievable. Yeah. That's like the sky, the importance of the cloud and the sky, yes? The cloud is appearing, but it's appearing in the sky, but doesn't affect the sky, yeah? So there's a world that we're in that's appearing to be so, but it doesn't affect what we're of, yes? And we're not of this world. Hallelujah. So I try to find those worlds. I try to have pinpoint 13 hours of meditation, fucking clear experiences. I chanted, not that much, wasn't into it that much. Chanted, did all these things. I almost killed myself with drugs with the hopes of getting a glimpse. And I came back realizing I can't get out of an imaginary place, especially as an imaginary thing. So there you go. Now I have there's the trials and tribulation as Paul as a thing, but like in these squares, there's 9 squares here. One of the squares would be the trials and tribulations of Paul, and the other 8 squares would be space. And while the space was attended to, the square of Paul would get smaller and smaller. Though not to Paul. So yeah, there you go. It's my rant for the day. I think this is what we should call it. Zen Bitch Slap's rant for the day, and then what comes after. Yeah, so are there any questions? There's someone from Dimitri. Do you see that, Mike?
I got you on speaker view, so I only see a few squares.
Oh, can you see if there's any hands up? Just...
Matt just raised his hand. Matt S. from Columbus.
Matt from Columbus?
Hey, Paul, how are you?
I'm good. I'm looking for you. Have I found you? No.
I don't know.
Oh, you're over here. All right, I think I do.
So I came to you through recovery, and I got a glimpse of what I'm not, from what I am, and it led me to Ramana. And abiding by the I thought, it subsides when I ask who am I, and I'm aware of what I'm not. But in your experience, does it take hold? Does it ever become more permanent?
Yeah, for sure.
Identification.
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Yes. See, it's sort of like in AA recovery, we have a thing about the disease of alcoholism. Yes. And they would say that it progresses, but so does recovery from it. Yeah. This is a place of duality. Yes.
Yes.
Duality. So there's two sides to every coin. So in time, how an idea like this expresses is it seems to become, you travel lighter. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, or as the Course would say, you're dreaming yourself out of the dream. And as you do, the dream gets happier. Yeah. So there is, in this expression, in this place of time, there can be a deepening, so to speak. Yes. That which is doesn't deepen, but the sense of it deepens. Yeah. It's sort of like if the action figure was under a cloud for a very, very long time, he didn't know it for quite a while, and then he becomes sort of conscious of it. It will become more conscious of it. The cloud ain't going anywhere. Yeah. Yeah. So yes. So you're in good hands. It's just going to go where it goes. And grace abounds. Like Ramana says, I think he said, you go to a certain point and then you basically put the ball down, and that's where grace is. So
there is nothing more. This is it, but this is awesome. It's just right here. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, great. All right. And the next participant. Mike, is anyone there? I see a lady says her name is Satsa.
John Martin's hands up next.
How are you?
Hey, Paul. Good to see you again, buddy.
I'm gonna try to find you, Martin. Am I on your screen?
I see you.
All right. Do I need to see you here? Maybe not.
Hey, you saw me last night, so it's cool.
Oh, you did? Oh, Martin. All right.
Yeah. Hey, man. How we doing? Some of the people say hi. So whatever it takes, folks. I love what you're saying about being in the world, but not of the world. And it reminded me of something I've heard you say before, that we are the dreaming of the dream.
Well, that's Course in Miracles. Yeah, yeah. We are the dreaming of the dream. I don't say dream because that would be like a noun. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's always dreaming. I don't think dreaming ever turns into anything. It's just always dreaming. Yes, but just to clarify. So yeah, we are the dreaming of the dreaming. What?
Well, would you call those two things related? How I heard you describe it today, being in the world but not of the world.
Yes, yes. So you would say the dreaming is not of the dreaming, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah. So the dreaming, when the dreaming, let's say, is in the dreaming, there's the identification as the dreamt, yes, as the body. Yeah. When you stop looking to, if you stop looking from the body to figure out the dreaming, and you see the dreaming, you see the body from the dreaming, you're looking from what you're of. Yes. So what you're of, let's say, is the dreaming. What you're in is what you would call a dream. Yes. The being in the dream appears as if you're a body, and there's bodies, and there's world and space and time and all like this, but you're not of that. So what happens here is people, that happened with me, people hear that they're the dreaming, but they hear it as the dreamt. That doesn't go very well. See, so they hear that they're in this world as that which is in the world. Yeah. The thing is that they hear about being in the world from what you're of. Yeah. When you hear about being in the world from what you are of, you'll see you're not that. That's being in the world. Yeah. No yeses. All right. So you are the dreaming of the dream. There's this, I'll read a thing that the Course used to say. It still says it. I haven't looked at it in a while. I may have changed it by now, but it is, you and I are I'm going to say it the way it says it. You and I are the dreaming of the dream. We forget that we're dreaming. Yeah. How did we seemingly, and I would say it appears to us, we forgot that we're dreaming. How are we forgetting that we're dreaming? Well, I just would hazard the possibility that by identification as the dreamt. Yeah. So when reality identifies with a dreamt object, it takes the dream that the object is as real. Yeah. So it's by the identification as the dreamt, yeah, a whole new situation arises. Now suddenly everything I'm dreaming as the dreaming now has the ability to affect me as the dreamt. Yeah. It's beautiful, really. It's a perfect diagnostic of what's happening. So there's the dreaming, which is not of the body. There's the dreamt, which is of the body. The dreaming, while dreaming the dreamt, seemingly forgets that it's the dreaming. It only thinks it's the dreamer at the night, the night dream. It forgets that it's the dreaming and takes itself to be the dreamt. Now suddenly, all the meaning that the dreaming is giving to everything now can affect the dreamt as if it's real, because the dreamt sees it as real. Yeah. That would be being in the world and not being of the world. This is what happens. That which is being in the world wants to get the of the world out, not of the world. It wants to have that experience of being not of the world because it wants relief from what it's in. And then when it gets a sample of it, then it gets upset because it doesn't stabilize, because the inness keeps regrouping. Yeah. And then the ofness is seen as an experience or a goal the inness can arrive at, when the fact is there's just a negation, not a denial, but a negation of the inness. Not in the inness, but from the ofness, yeah? Seeing this world from the ofness is the negation of this world. It's not denying it and vanquishing it and destroying it. There's an acceptance of it for what it is, and you're not of it. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. But the thing is, the dreaming gets lost in the identification as the dreamt. And now we're trying to convince dreamt objects that this dreamt dream that they're taking to be so real isn't real, that there's no world. It doesn't work. We're talking to the wrong audience. I don't want to talk to Geraldine and Donna and Kevin and Randy. I'm hoping to talk through Randy and Donna and Kevin and get to what we're of, yeah? So that we can describe what it's like to be in, and maybe get the idea I'm not that, yeah? And when you get it, the idea of not that from the of, it's not a denial or a destroying or a vanquishing or killing it or making it, it's inclusive. Yeah, there's the appearance of inness, and then there's the reality of ofness. Yeah, one's happening in time, the other is of a timeless nature. Yeah.
Dig it, man.
I dig it, yeah. I dig it too. It's weird speaking to squares. I feel like I should ask you a question. Who was the president of the United States in 1976? Some washed up celebrity. What's your answer? Dwight Eisenhower. You're wrong. No. All right. Any more questions? I'm moving to another.
Another square. Lee Harris has his hand up next.
All right, Lee. I'm going to search for you.
Well, if he starts talking, he might move. The square
Yeah,
might
hi,
move.
Paul.
All right, Lee. Go ahead.
Actually, if you, I don't know about your screen, when I click on
I'll hear you.
up on the upper right, you can click on speaker view. But
Oh,
that's
yeah?
fine.
I found.
Well, you found me. I'm still looking.
Yeah. Well, you can decease now. Desist. I don't want you to
So
desist.
this is, I suppose this is a question from what I'm not. But I know you've talked about when you finally see, you say it's always been this way. So
Yeah.
it's that way. Consciousness is obviously seeing right now, yet it seems to be, or I seem to be identified as a thought. Whatever the present thought is, I believe I'm the thinker of it, and so I fall into that. So how is it that consciousness is awake to itself all the time right now, yet it seems to be, or it seems to be misidentified as a thought?
That's dreaming.
Okay.
So you're laying in your bed at night, and in the dreaming, you're a guy riding a bull at a rodeo. Yeah. How is it? How is it that Paul hasn't left his bed, yet he's riding a bull in a rodeo in Nevada or Utah somewhere? Yes? And then it seems as real can be until he wakes up and realizes, oh, I haven't left the bed. I've been here the whole time. Yeah? He doesn't realize that when he's on the bull riding it. Yeah?
Right.
Or the dream would stop. Yes? Yeah. So this is a different type of awakeness. In this awakeness, the dreaming is continuing. Yeah? And yet you're awake. Not because of anything. That's a fact. You're just awake. I don't care what it seems like. Yeah? I don't care how it's appearing. You're awake. That's your basic condition. Yeah? It doesn't have an on and off switch. It doesn't have like a far away and close switch. It doesn't have a connect or disconnect. We're all awake. And here you can seem to be awake to that or can seem to be asleep to that fact. It doesn't change the fact. Yeah? So at times, the head is constantly falling into seemingly being asleep to that. Yeah. The interest and attention has been following it religiously for years. Yes. Not your interest and attention. And so it keeps spawning the same sense of reality. But you're bigger than that also at the same time. Yes. The ofness isn't. The access to the ofness has nothing to do with the inness, yeah? The ofness is inherently always available at all times, yeah? So when you go into these little forays and the narrative is like you've lost yourself, you never lose yourself, yeah? You always come back to that same point. Maybe you never left it, yeah? Don't you get it after a while? This feeling of leaving, yet you never leave forever. You always seem to wake back up. Maybe those little interludes are totally imaginary. Yeah. Maybe your condition is revealed by, you always end up, like when you get off the train of thought, you're always at the station, yeah? Every time you picture, every time the illusory machine stops, you're right where you've always been. Maybe you never left, yeah? See, the head, what you are makes leaps, yeah? It gets a little teaser here, and then it leaps to some conclusion, like it realizes something, not by a cumulative math, but a leap, yeah? So what would happen if you keep recognizing, every time I leave, I always end up back at the same place? Maybe I've never left that place I thought I left, yeah? What would happen? Who knows? Find out. Maybe all that interest and attention that goes off on the little time trip wouldn't go, yeah? Some of it would still go, but now a lot would be resting in presence, yeah? Whatever you want to call it. And yeah, then the foray wouldn't last as long and wouldn't have much color in it, and it would just come back with really not much of a story. Yeah? Yeah, the message is in. You've been served the spiritual subpoena. Yeah? The faith of mind has been put into the wrong vehicle. Yeah? It's getting withdrawn, and it'll just stay put. And then you'll see all the unwinding and winding back, and all this and all that, and all the days that come and go, and feelings come and go. Yet there's just like a screen in a theater can show 800 different kinds of movies. Never gets moved by any of them, yeah? And yeah, before every movie, there's the screen, and after every movie, the screen. Even after fucking the last one by Scorsese, The Irishman, that was 4 freaking hours. It still didn't. You still came back to the screen when it was over. Thank God. Yeah. So what does it tell you? All right, the movie, I was really engaged with it, but what's always there? The screen. Yeah. Maybe we're the screen, so to speak, and movies are being played. Yes, they're being projected. We forget that, and we think we perceive them as if they're real and solid, and then they're playing on our screen. But they always end, don't they?
It's not only the screen, it's that I think I'm the character on the screen.
Well, you don't, but the head thinks it's the character.
Yes.
Thank
yes.
God, yes. So what? There's some fun in it, isn't there? I mean, I get to see beauty a lot here. Yeah?
Yeah.
Isn't it awesome to be put to use? Sometimes you do something for somebody, or you're available and you're present, so therefore you're of service. Hey, what's the rush? Yeah. It's going to end anyway, isn't it? You'll have a small reprieve tonight when you go to bed.
That's why I have to sleep 8 hours at night. I'm exhausted from all the thoughts going through my head.
But I've met you, bro. I know you. It's actually, you're going to be the last person to know that it's getting better. Yeah. Because the idea of Lee has a story, and it wants to be right about that story. So for it to be right about that story, it has to exclude a lot of shit that's happening, like good shit. Yeah? You got to realize it. The mental state is attempting, see, we're the screen. The mental state wants to obscure that screen, and the only way it can do that is by telling a story that we're after the curtain, yeah? We're not the screen. We're in this world, and we're of this world, yeah? That way it can obscure. That way it can have relevance and meaning. But the fact is, you're on this side of it, yeah? So the screen doesn't have the ability to block you off here, does it?
No.
Exactly. This is what you're of. This is what you're appearing to be in. Yeah? this curtain can be withdrawn, open, a little bit high, this and that, all this going on. But in fact, you are here as what you are. Just like if you're on the sun side, does the cloud have the ability to block you from the sun? No. If you're in another side, the cloud has an ability to block you from the sun. The cloud's ability is based on us. It's not based on the cloud. Yeah?
Yeah.
See, there's so much to find out about what you're not, and by learning about it, by finding out about it, you get a hit of what you are. That's how it worked with me. Yeah? It's like an intimation. You can't know it, yeah? You can't categorize it. You can't grade it. You can't claim it. You can't, which is beautiful because therefore you can't lose it and shit like that, yeah? And there's a knowing of that. Finally you get it, that you're incapable of getting it, yeah? Then there's an intimation. You sense stuff. And you don't need anyone to verify that, yeah? Yeah. So I'm telling you, Lee, you're doing great. So put that in your fucking mental pipe and smoke it. You are. I've watched you. Just your face then. I haven't seen your face like that when I first met you. It's very serious. Very. Yes. You didn't have any. You had spiritual fucking hiking boots, not slippers. You were climb out of this thing. This is all about chilled out, man. Yeah, yeah, and it's happening to you. And your head is never going to tell you that. It's never. You can't listen to that narration. It has an agenda. Yeah.
It hasn't told me.
Of course it hasn't. So listen.
Told me the opposite.
Give me an assumed authority, which I don't have, and I'm telling you, you're fucking doing great.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it that you're doing wonderfully well. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Keep coming back,
Thanks,
Lee.
Paul.
And for all your support. It helps. Yeah. My lavish lifestyle is. Thank you. All
Good
right.
to see you.
Next question or whatever. Hello.
Ricardo.
Hello, Long Island and everyone there. Long Island's there. Everybody. Woohoo. Spatial social distancing in Long Island. That's what I was trying to do my whole life growing up there. I was trying to distance myself from Long Island. Finally succeeded. Mike, anyone?
Ricardo's got his hand up.
Who?
Hello, Paul.
Ricardo. All right, I still haven't figured out how to find them. Oh, here you are. Hey, got it. First one. Hey, Ricardo.
Hello, Paul. How are you?
Good, good.
Good. So I love your teachings. I love the way you point, saying that what you are is looking.
Yes.
What you are is looking at what you are not, and then discarding. Sorry, my English, but putting off all the things, even the mind, the thoughts, the things I saw, all the things I see is not myself. So in that moment, I feel a very big liberation. Even if it's only for a while, but it seems that I have to remember all the time that what I am is looking to what I am not, to get detached. And my question for you is there a moment that I don't need to remember that anymore, then I will be like pulled to what I am, looking to what I am not.
Now.
No.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah.
Now.
Yes. Now.
now
If
it's
it
okay.
later, it's going to be now. So now.
Yeah, but I'm asking you because now it's very okay. But after a while, I forgot about that, and when what I am not is very pleasure and very involving. I know that I'm not that, but I go through because it's pleasurable.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's not you that went through. Just have a sense that of what was shown to you, that hit, yeah, and see where the faith that you have in the mental state, that maybe that faith can go there, yeah. You know, when it was some of the times it struck me strongly, it felt like it happened in my gut and was like an unspoken yes, yeah. Now, was Paul equipped to live as that? No, but if something hit me, and there was a faith that reacted to it. I had faith. It was like I knew it was before knowing shit. Yeah, I just knew it. Yes, that faith is what gives you a. See, when we have faith in the thoughts and everything, we believe they can pull us so here and there and this and that. When that faith goes to what you've had a hit of, that you get those ideas weaken. You don't feel, you're just okay. So I'm saying it's now, because if it happens 5 minutes from now, that will be now. Yeah. So basically the answer is that there is no fucking problem. That's the answer. The problem is what the answer is entertaining, basically. When the answer loses interest in it, yeah, it's going to gain interest in what it is, and that's sort of the solution, yeah? And the solution tells you there was no problem, so there's no need for a solution. It's that economical. So you got a whack, you notice you're traveling lighter, let that faith get moved, you can't move it, from that thing that has failed to something that works, yeah? Yes? So when my head does something and goes up into things, I never take it to be a signal that I've left what I am. Though it wants to infer that and imply that, I never take it, because I know with all the goings aways and all the coming back, I don't believe I've ever left that which I had come back to. Yeah. Yeah. So the whole story of all the power of going away has been dismissed. I've lost interest in it. Yeah. Keeps getting spun out constantly. That's what the head's assuming. It's assuming it's not of what we are. It's assuming it's of flesh and of brain and of this and of that. And it's tattooed by all the doing and all the thinking and all the feelings it's had. Yeah, it's just it's like building something on shaky ground. There's no reality to it. So that's what the traveling lighter is based on, loss of interest, really. You just lose interest in all of that. All the mental spinning and everything. There's just a loss of interest in it. It's sort of like the circus comes to town, but now it's like a 1-ring circus, not a 3-ring circus. Used to have like a 5 tents. It's got one little like pop-up tent. The clown's still in there. Have some paper mache lions and shit. It's sort of like, see, the power of the mental state is based on interest and attention. It's based on faith. Without faith, the thoughts couldn't seem to take you to yesterday and tomorrow. There's no way. Yeah. We're the source of the faith. We're the source of it. We're the source of the interest and the attention. Yeah. The mental state is playing to us all day. Your thoughts aren't appearing on your head, are they? They're playing towards you inside. There's an audience, there's a spacious audience that the whole narration is seemingly presenting its case to, yes? What would happen if that audience lost interest in the movie? The light wouldn't be projecting the movie as much because we are the light, yes? When the light loses interest in the projector, the projection of the film isn't that strong. That's what happens. You're dreaming and you start seeing through the dreaming, yeah? You're fine also, Ricardo. I'm giving everyone a medical exam. Lee is fine, you're fine, Ricardo.
But I mean, this loss of interest, I cannot do anything about that. Right?
No, just you're going to observe it, and then you're going to express from a different place. Yeah, and you'll get an intimation of the tree, like Jesus says. You can't know the tree, but you'll know the tree by the fruit of the tree. Yeah, so you can't know what you are, but you'll start seeing new expressions and shit, and they'll intimate what you are. Yeah. I think I lost you, Ricardo.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, Ricardo, stay in touch. Yeah.
I will.
All right. There's Sharon. Sharon, it's nice to see you. I miss our little, wherever we went, firehouse. Keith, yes. There's Alex. Anyone, Mike?
Sheldon is next.
Shell?
Sheldon.
Joan?
Hey,
SEH.
hi, Paul.
I'm looking for Joan. Shona. Oh,
Sheldon. Her name is Sheldon. She's unmuted herself. It's okay.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I just had a question that I think I know the answer to, but I'm not sure. Just like, is there also a loss of interest in like maintaining relationships a certain way, or like, yeah, like, can you hear me?
I can. I lost a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the way certain relationships.
Yeah, is there just like a loss of interest in maintaining relationships, like that you don't really want to maintain anymore, that you would have just continued to anyway in the past? Does that make sense?
Well, it could be. There's no rote way. That's the fun of it. You'll find out yourself in your own predicaments. Yeah, you'll see how it gets redistributed. Yeah. But a lot of people will point out that they feel a little lost, even when they come here, because their interest that they had in certain things has moved. Yeah. And a lot of those things were part of the identity.
Right.
And it's has moved and it hasn't gone back, and they're sort of feeling a little bit like they've lost something. And but that's a common observation. So, but I don't know. But I feel, yeah, that would be, well, to me, that's traveling lighter, or like dreaming yourself out of the dream and it gets happier. You leave things that weren't good for you or for the other, yeah?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yes. Yeah, a lot of that can happen, but it's just gonna play out. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I just, see, when it first started happening with me, I felt a responsibility and I tried to get better. And then I was told to stop that.
Yeah.
And then I spent years just reading Yankee blogs and shit like that, and very, very, what you would call a mundane life completely. And I haven't gotten any new directives. So basically, yeah, I had a lot of interest in getting out of myself. I did. And I thought a lot of that had to do with improving it so I could get out of it, yeah? And purifying it. And and stressing it to a point where some shit would snap by, you know, austerity, like a lot of meditation in short periods and not eating much food. I figured that, you know, I was interested in that big time. And I was interested in people who looked like they had effects I wanted, where they looked brighter and they were much clearer. And I wanted that. And so I followed some courses that I hoped would bring me there. And doing that, in hindsight, I found the similarity with searching for that through spirituality as with drug addiction, really. There was really no difference except the vehicle. And, you know, one vehicle's got, you know, it's nicer, kind of, you know, nicer seats, maybe like a Prius. The other one, you know, was usually the back of a police car, but still they had some huge similarity. And a lot of that stuff, when this message started to take hold, a lot of stuff got rearranged. Yeah, because you can finally, there's not such a commitment to hide shit from yourself when that self you're trying to hide shit from isn't you. Yeah, you can actually really start having a close to honest appraisal because it's not you. When it's about you, there's going to be a lot of blind spots. You're going to probably have to hear a lot about you from others because the strategy of the mental state, it has a story and it's protecting that story. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you see it's not you, then a lot gets revealed, and some of the stuff that gets revealed, there's going to be a reconfiguring. Yeah, that's all. But I have a faith in it because even if it looks like it isn't good, it's good. Yeah, because it turns out to be proven. Like my friend just had one thing the other day. She put out her income tax, and she had to give them $800 or something. And then she got a thing back saying something about it. Something was wrong. So she had a little bit of anxiety, and then by that thing, she's going to get all that $800 back. Yeah. So at first it seemed like, oh, I don't want to do it, but she does it right away, and then she learns, hey, she wouldn't have learned that she could get the $800 back without that piece of paper. But the way she responded worked. Yeah. Because So yes, I don't know what I think I left the point, but hopefully you got the point.
Yeah, and I think like the seriousness of it, it seems like it gets less then, right? Like where you think like you have to be a certain way and they have to be a certain way and you have to label things a certain way or whatever. Like there's a like fluidity or something maybe.
Yes, most definitely. Yes.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
John Harper is next.
John Harper. Wow, there's a lot of John.
Was he the one that talked first? Maybe his hand got left.
How you doing? No, I had to unmute myself. You can hear
All
me
right.
now?
I can hear you. I can't see you yet. But
Okay. Green t-shirt. You may find me. I've been listening to your videos for several months now and really appreciate your service and your message and the way you present it. The other day, ever since I've been doing that, it's like these little things light up in my past, you know, like, oh, there's a moment. Oh, there's a moment. See that? And I had an experience a couple weeks ago that, I had an experience. I was involved in this experience. And it really illustrated the point you make about you are the scene. And I think it's a common experience that a lot of us have, but we don't really see it for what it is. And that is a couple weeks ago, I was turning 70. And I'm standing in front of the mirror looking at this face that's aging all these years. And I remember many, many times looking at that and going, yeah, that doesn't really add up. I don't feel that old, right? And so a week or so ago, as I'm doing that, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm really in this place of feeling, well, I'm not that old, and wondering how old I am, and it just feels timeless. And that's when I realized that what's looking and seeing that body, that the seeing is coming from the timeless. And it's looking at the progression of time in the mirror. And that was just a very clear example to me of one of the points that you keep driving home, that we are the seeing, and that is timeless. And that seemed like a point of inflection of really being, that opened things up. I just wanted to share that.
Oh, great. There'll be many of those. There'll be many of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no quantity. It's just, see, these are the signs that you're onto something. It's just that simple. Yeah. It reveals itself and then it verifies itself. Yeah. By these little coincidences or things or whatever. And then you get a sense of a choreographic theme in the dreaming. Yeah. And all the while, yeah. But I try to stay away from mirrors now. Because my head is stuck in as 18 years old. So I see that. I see it attempting to make sense of the nonsensical, because it's thinking it's 18 and the only way it can hold itself is a body, and then it sees this older body and it just the wiring goes crackles. Its story is like on fumes, you know what I mean? It's hilarious. One thing, you should start laughing a lot. Most people.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a riot.
It's funny as hell. The smallness of the mental state is hilarious. Really, it's hilarious. Some of its hilarity is it's taken itself so seriously. If you just try to put it on paper before you even write, you know it was bullshit. You're like, it's just so, it's hilarious. So thank you, John. Thanks. Keep on listening. I have faith in this message. Yes, Mike, the next one.
I don't see any hands raised. Anybody want to raise their hand?
Oh,
Jill just raised her hand.
All right. And then we'll end maybe. Yeah? What time is it?
And then Geraldine's got her hand in now too. So.
All right. After Geraldine and stuff. All right. We don't have to end. We'll just. Hey.
I don't know if you can see me. I wave my hand.
I got to go through this thing. Now, who is this I'm looking for?
Jill?
Jill.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Speak, Jill. I'll catch you.
Okay. My husband and I are both here. We're in different squares.
Oh, I see you now.
We're coming from Asheville, North Carolina.
Oh, Asheville, yes.
Yeah. And we're both from long time recovery too. And more recently, when I was finally introduced to non-duality and entertained the whole thing, and then it was just so great to discover you, because that just for me lended a lot of credibility to it, just because of your knowing of recovery and everything. So yeah, I just really appreciate you, all that you share and all that you do. What I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit more about, I've heard you talk about, I think it's like horizontal and vertical downloads.
Yeah.
If you could just expand on that a little. would be
Well,
great.
these are
Thank
just
you.
imageries of things. So for me, a download is sort of like an insertion of knowledge without much data. Yeah. So the data is seen through your living in the next week or a month or 2 months or something. So there's downloads, and then the download triggers an ability to see certain things you may have been missing. Yes. So, and then there's the horizontal downloads. I just use that to mean it's mostly almost like an orbiting from the mental state, almost like, and I would see it as almost like the download is like on a saran wrap, and it just wraps around. Yeah.
All right.
And you can still keep seeing, but it's getting a little bit unclear. Yeah. And
Yeah.
basically now you're just totally based on the interpretation or the narrative. You're not seeing anymore in a sense. So
Okay.
it's sort of the horizontal download is of time for sure. And the other ones aren't. And the horizontal download takes time. It plays out like a printer almost, yeah.
Okay.
And it's basically the same old, yeah. You start recognizing that because of there is a comparison thing. The vertical has a total different feel to it than the horizontal, and the vertical is more like a whack, quick, no time, whack, and the horizontal is playing out, and it seems very familiar, almost like it's the same spool of saran wrap. Yeah, it goes back in the box, comes out, goes back in the box, comes out.
Like all the conditioning.
Yes, yeah, so that's what I feel. That's why I try to use a little imagery, because that's how my mind works. Yeah. So vertical is like an insertion into time that's not of time, and then horizontal is definitely a product in timing. Yeah, through time. Yeah.
Would you say that the vertical is, I don't know if
The higher
something
power,
and that's like a resonance maybe, or rather than
it can
just
be a resonance, but it also brings about seeing things in a different light, and so there is an acquirement of knowledge in a way.
Okay. Great.
Because you see things that you were missing, and then certain things there's a connection of because a lot of the stuff that happens with me is reverse engineering. So there's relief, and then the relief, there's some information that comes in and tells me why the relief wasn't seemingly available.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So in other words, when the piece is there, it tells me why it didn't seem to be available before.
Okay.
Yeah. And that sort of makes up the talks, really.
Cool.
The talks are really from downloads about what we're not.
All right.
Yeah.
Great.
So yeah, I had so many experiences like with drugs and everything, but those experiences were being projected into the horizontal download. Yeah, same old. See, there's a very interesting view, if no one minds going off on this. In the Course in Miracles, they have this idea of the Holy Spirit. Yeah. And this is how I take it. And I would say it's one of the senses of a higher power for me, which is the Holy Spirit will take this exact same information that your brain is taking in and collating it in one way, but will collate it in a different manner. Yeah. The same data, the same information coming from this taking in the dreaming, but it will translate it completely differently because it has a different intent for it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not there to reinforce the idea of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. It's got a different intent, and you find that out by following it. So to me, that's sort of the downloads can be seen almost as if the movement of the Holy Spirit or the higher power. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same information being taken in, but collated differently, completely differently. Yeah, and
That's
you get to know the tree by its fruit. You follow it as you have, and you now know there's something that comes from those intuitions, and those things are not coming from the thought system. They're coming from before the thought system.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you
Yeah,
so
see
much.
you soon. And also, we're going to be doing a new every Tuesday and Thursday. We're gonna do reflections on the steps.
Oh,
Also,
okay.
3 weeks. Go over all the steps. I did a video about 8 years ago called Reflections on the 12 Steps. We're gonna do like an update on it.
Okay. Are you gonna, what time of the
It's gonna
day?
be on the website. It'll be on Zen Bitch Slap. It's starting next week.
Okay.
It's
I
10
appreciate the earlier times because, you know, we're in a few different time zones
Yeah,
away.
it'll be at 10:30 in the morning here.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Perfect.
All right, I'll see you, hon.
Thanks. Thanks. Come to Asheville sometime.
Yeah, I hope so. Get in touch with me. Get in touch through Zen Bitch Slap.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah, because I used to do a lot in North Carolina, actually.
Oh, yeah?
In Raleigh, yeah. I went there about for 8 years or so. Then the groups that were doing it they broke up, had a schism.
Ah,
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
thanks.
Thank you. All right, one or two more. Oh, I like this one here too. How you doing over?
Can you see me?
That's Geraldine. Hey, I'm right on the exact page. Fantastic.
Hello. You were talking, Paul, you were talking about blind spots. How can we see them? How can I see my blind spots? Because obviously I'm thinking all the time. I'm doing nothing, which I should be doing, like meditating or looking at the thoughts with distance. Obviously I can't do that, or I don't want to do that, I don't know. But
But see, what you are is before all that. So if the interest and attention leaves what you're not, you'll see the manufacturing and the composition of what you're not. You'll see you'll see some of the blind spots.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
See, when we're trying to direct everything and to do this and be a watcher of everything, to me, that's part of what we're not, in a sense. What you are is seeing, yeah? And so if the interest and attention, if there's a loss of interest in Geraldine, you'll see the composite of Geraldine, yeah?
But I'm so much interested in
Geraldine having interest in seeing the blind spots of Geraldine is the biggest blind spot. That's the biggest one, the identification as Geraldine. So you lose interest in finding out about all this shit, and then you're gonna find out about all this shit, or whatever shit you need to find out about. Yeah, definitely not all of it, because usually they're expressions of one thing. You'll see it. Yeah. In other words, they're like the root of it. Let's say the root of it will be one blind spot, and then it has its little auxiliary defenses and shit. You'll just see it, you know. The ones that are necessary for you to see, you'll see. Yeah. But while you trying to look for them, that's the blindness to the whole thing. Yeah. Geraldine's not going to get out of Geraldine. There's no freaking way.
So I have to lose interest.
How do you lose interest is if you start entertaining, maybe this isn't me, you'll lose interest in it, because the interest is based on it's you. Just like if I'm sitting here and I'm wanting to hear someone else speak in another room because I'm interested in, maybe they want to go out with me. When I find them saying that they like another guy, I lose interest in that immediately, don't I? Because now the conversation has nothing to do with me. Well, if you can see a modicum by hearing about what you're not and getting a hint, hey, I may not be that, maybe the interest will leave Geraldine and go somewhere else, and you'll find out where it goes. Yeah. Because you'll probably start seeing what you're not. You'll see more of what you're not. Yeah. There's no need to recognize what you are. There's a need to recognize what you're not if you're identified as it. Definitely.
But if I try to tell myself, well, I'm not that, which
I'm not saying that. You don't try to tell yourself that, because that's what you're not, trying to tell yourself you're not that.
Indeed.
There's something in you. See, this is a point with the talks, especially in the other one, because Zoom is a little different, but we're not talking to Geraldine about Geraldine. We're talking through Geraldine, hopefully to what you are about Geraldine. Yeah. The whole trick of all the talks is not, I'm not talking to anyone. I'm talking through them. I know I know what you are is available right now. Yeah. And I'm hopefully trying to get through Geraldine, not to Geraldine, to what you are and about Geraldine. Because when what you are hears about what you're not, there's going to be a loss in interest in what you're not. It's just that simple. If what you're not tries to lose interest in what you're not, that's an interest in what you're not. You can't get out of it, yeah? At least get that, Geraldine. And if you don't, just keep listening to the old talks, because that's just beaten into it, yeah? There's a great master, Hoang Po, great Zen master. And one of my favorite lines of his is, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You can't use mind to seek mind. You can't use light to seek light. Why is that? The only way that could be true is if you are Buddha, if you are mind, and if you are light. Yeah? So Geraldine doesn't think she's Buddha, doesn't think she's mind, and doesn't think she's light. So we're not talking to Geraldine about that. We're talking to the Buddha about it, yeah? And if the Buddha hears, hey, I can't use myself to find myself, it's going to lose interest in Geraldine doing just that, yeah? Geraldine trying to use the Buddha to get somewhere else. It's going to lose interest in that. It is, because it's so obvious to the Buddha that he can't use itself to find itself. It's not obviously obvious to the Buddha, AKA Geraldine, yeah? Because Geraldine is taken to be real and the Buddha ain't. So this is the point. So when he was giving this talk, I imagine Hoang Po wasn't talking to the people there. He was talking through them to the Buddha he knew was there. And he was telling the Buddha, hey, you can't use yourself to find yourself. That's what the message is. Yeah? Just be clear. Start becoming clear about what you're not, and you'll become clear about what you are. Instead of trying to be clear about what you are as what you're not, just be clear about what you're not. Yeah? I can't put it any better.
Paul, this is where you drop the mic, right here.
Yeah. That's good, yes. That's a good one. I should drop the mic, but I'm a glutton for this. So. All right, Geraldine, you're in good. Hey, I'm going to give you the same diagnosis I had of Lee and our other friend. You're fine, Geraldine. Yeah. You don't have to do what your head is telling you have to do. You're okay. Yes.
Doing it anyway.
What?
I'm doing it anyway, trying to.
Yes. So.
Thank you.
Come back, Geraldine. It's nice to see you. Yeah.
Nice to see you too.
Hey, Mike, one more, two more.
Yeah, Randy S. wanted to pop in.
Randy, yes. Randy, yes. All right.
Well, I wasn't sure. Yeah, hey. I haven't found the specific question, but it's still fun to bring up. The whole metaphor that sheep and the lion, and anything that a sheep who feels like it's a sheep tries to do to be more whatever lion-like, it's still just more in the sheep. So what I'm wondering about is the apparent realm of the sheepness, where it manifests as like person-to-person interaction. And I remember you talking in one of your recordings, you talked about how you used to be at work, people thought you were unmotivated, or they want you to go faster or try harder. I relate to that one a lot, and it's like I have to beat myself up. It's like, well, am I supposed to be, the whole concept of work ethic and all of that. And as a part of me wonders, like, well, like, it still feels like anything I do is from this inherent sense of sheepness.
But that's all right. The idea has its own little life, so it's not, you didn't do it. It's the action.
But then I get fired.
It's got 80 years of action, maybe 90 years. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
The action figure wants to get better. That's fine. That's that's part of its programming. Hopefully, it's worse if it wants to go get worse, which was part of this programming. So,
well, I mean, sometimes it's more obvious what's making it worse, like the drugs and alcohol is a lot more obvious than it's like, but I guess it's just like starting to wonder about like falling into realms of deception or something like that.
Yeah, we're already in it, Randy. You're worrying about a future event that may be seemingly appearing now.
Yeah.
And you're still okay. You're not that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're young, Randy. Yes?
Well, but that's the action figure, right?
Yes, as the action.
But like I'd rather not see you as old, so then it's like
the action figure is gonna, it's like a bumper car. You're gonna bump into a lot of other cars.
Yeah, no, it was more like a freight train a few times.
It's okay. Yeah. Non-duality is a trippy thing because it's really about how it's heard. So if it's heard from the action figure point of view, it's looked for as a way to get some advantage or something, which is fine, but it doesn't, it's not going to usually work well. It's sort of, we used to use the example of there's a coyote and it comes upon a desert tortoise, big freaking thing. And as soon as it gets there, the tortoise pulls everything in, and the coyote's trying to get to the flesh, the meat, and after a few minutes, it gets disappointed and it leaves, yeah? So in a way, part of hearing this message of non-duality is what happens. And so the action figure will try to take advantage of the idea. Like, I see it in recovery a lot. People hear about there is no self, so they don't think they need the program. Yeah. I'm not an alcoholic.
So my thing was there's that group called CODA, like the Codependence Anonymous.
Yes.
And they had this sense there. I went to a few meetings where it was permanent, and I just can't accept that.
Oh,
I was like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little.
Permanent, bro. Nothing's
right.
permanent.
Well, right. There was a guy we were sharing, and he talked about how he's like, I have shards of glass all in me, and those are my memories, and that's just who I am. And it was like, oh, so as far as like needing
different meetings, you got to go to different meetings. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not, see, like the codependency or whatever, those things are like concepts. So then it's like it's a little less objective than alcoholism.
Yes. Yes, it is. But codependents love alcoholics.
Well, and not specifically like that, but it was more just like the whole seeming like what other people what other people might be feeling is more clear or more focused than whatever it is I'm feeling, or I don't feel like I'm feeling anything. But then there's it's like that trap of reactivity. So then it's like with the whole, I guess that's for the whole lion and the sheep thing. It's like, well, that's probably just like a hall of mirrors, like something like that.
Of course it is. That's the thing is, yeah. I remember when I was out there using, one of my stories about I could do almost anything is because I didn't feel like I had any effect on anybody. Like if I left someone, I'm nothing, so why would they get upset? And so like just these weird ideas of the system trying to defend the system. But hey, you're not that, bro. But we're gonna move on.
Yeah.
The last question of the day. Yeah. All right, Mike, anyone?
Nope, no more hands showing.
Oh, great. Rebecca, how are you?
Oh, although I gotta say, you left out my favorite part. You changed the story about the tortoise and the coyote, because you used always, I thought, the one about how the tortoise shell is empty. That's a dead tortoise shell. And so that's actually a favor to the coyote, who isn't being given anything from inside. So he just peacefully moves on because there's absolutely nothing inside. Instead of trying to get at some little piece of meat or something that's alive in there.
I think that's your story, bro. It's
I guess that's how I took it. Okay.
Adaptation of the other story. That's good.
Yeah, no, they work well with each other.
Yeah.
I got a question, Paul.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I just didn't want you to end early. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Do I want to hear you? Maybe in question.
Oh, now I'm inhibited. And this is could happen. I've seen some of your AA talks on YouTube, and I've gone to some meetings and blah, blah, blah. The question I have is, it just seems like there's some conflict between the two for me. Like AA is so much more dogmatic and kind of group oriented, where I see non-duality is a different path. And how do you put them together? And do you have any issues with all that?
Well, the thing is, AA is for the, recovery is for the action figure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's for the action figure. It's for supposedly the in, but its power comes from not of. Yeah. Yes. So it has its own, it's turned into what it's turned into. There's different, being in the city.
Yeah. So you really can't compare it. It's like one is the gym, right? I mean, you're taking care of a body and getting through the day.
Some non-duality would be where recovery taken to a certain point would end up. And yet non-duality is before everything, really. Yes?
Right.
So if recovery could lead you to the point of realizing there is no self, which is the fact that's before everything, yeah? So to me, non-duality is just the negation of what we're assuming to be so, yeah? That's all it is. It's not about, it's finding out by negating what we take to be so, and there's no so that it's implying, yeah? It isn't like, I'm not that, but I'm this. It's, I'm not that to me, and then you find out what you are, yeah? Yeah? There's no this to arrive at because you never left. There's no goal in a sense of non-duality. There's no place to arrive because you're already there. So it's just negating all those ideas, and then the quote unquote one who has those ideas, yeah, as being invalid. There's nothing right or wrong with it. It's just not true. That's all. So that to me is an inherent, always available at all times source of light, yes, which can bring light to a lot of paths and vehicles that are meant to bring people to light. Yeah, in other words, it can illuminate a path that's wanting to be illuminated. Yeah, yeah. So it's not a path to illumination, which in some respects you could say AA is seen as an action figure. It's a path to illumination. Yeah, but it illuminates whatever path any person is on. Yeah.
I mean, that's what it did for you, right? It took.
Yeah. So non-duality illuminated a lot of the underlying principles that weren't reached by AA. Yeah, that there are other principles, there was other ideas that weren't readily available from the download of recovery. So non-duality was the source of that. Yeah. So to me, I see it as there are paths to illumination, so to speak, but what non-duality is what illuminates all paths. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a path because it negates the idea there's someone that's on a path and that there's a need for anything. It negates the whole premise. But where it appears is in what its influence can appear wherever any person is, and a lot of people are in paths of illumination. Like recovery is, you've got to know, you have to have an admittance to your innermost self that you're an alcoholic. That's an illuminating moment, yeah? Because the whole head has been working to deny that fact. And so when there's that admittance, that's an illumination, yeah? Now that illumination leads to more illumination, but the light of all illuminations is of non-duality, yeah? That we are the light that we're looking for, that we are what's looking, yeah? So we are the light that Huang Po was speaking about. You can't use light to seek light, yeah? And that's why it was a warning to us, because he was implying we're the light. If you weren't the light, he would never have probably said that. Why would he? If you weren't the light, you would need light to see a lot of shit. But if you are the light, trying to use yourself as a flashlight is denying the fact that you're the source of light. That's all. It's just a simple negation. And then the action figure has its way of life. For me, it's been recovery. I've done recovery more than almost anything than shitting and sleeping and pissing. I've been in recovery for 32 years. I've never done anything this long. So, and because I didn't do it, I just show, and an incredible illuminating factor in these days has been the idea of non-duality. Brought a whole new life to recovery for me, personally. And I've been trying to share it for a long time in my community. And yeah.
But I mean, you don't want to share non-duality in the AA community, right? I mean, if someone's interested, if you're going to an AA meeting, you don't want to share, if I hear you correctly, non-duality, I mean, as something to talk about. Well,
you do share it, but it's clothed in recovery terms, in AA terms, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you do that well. I've been listening to you at the meetings, and yeah.
Yeah. Once if you come out and try to, yeah, no, it won't work really. Yeah, it just won't. So you have to sort of see. It's weird sometimes in my experience. I'll say something at a meeting and the person will love it, And then they'll ask me, where can I hear more of this? And I say, go to Zen Bitch Slap. I never hear from them again. Now, it was the same thing I said, but it was framed in a different way. One was framed in AA, seems to be quite acceptable. One as
A little bit different than you don't exist.
Buddhism, it was a lot of resistance to it. So it's a very weird phenomena, but I've run into it quite a lot. And then a lot of times, see, with a message, because we're so, self-centered, the emphasis is on the messenger and you miss the message. Yeah. And so it's easy to find fault or think that the messenger isn't living up to the message, which it's impossible to do, really, in the way people conceive of the message. It lives up perfectly to it, but not the way people would conceive it. And so they throw the baby out with the bathwater. They don't like the messenger, and then they throw the message out. Yeah, that's the shame. So we're always trying to be very clear that I really have nothing to do with what's coming out. And if you have a beef about it, go fucking talk to your inner self, whatever. And yes, and the vice versa. I'm never trying to talk to you about the message, really. I'm trying to talk through you quite a lot. So, by talking quite a lot, yeah, there's a logic to it all. Because I feel like if you can override the system and overwhelm it, it'll get through it to you, to what you are. So I'm going to end today on that, eh?
Thank you.
Is that everyone all right? Yes, that was fantastic. Thank you for taking me into your lovely containment centers. Yeah. See you. And again, we're going to have these AA things up, and we have a Wednesday night at 7:30. It's all going to be on the website, zenbitchslap.com. And we'll be back. All of us will show up again next Saturday. And until then, don't take yourself so seriously.
Paul, thank you, Paul.
Right.
I'll see you guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Paul.
See everybody. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Randy.
Hi to Amelia.
Yeah, hi, Amelia.
Donna.
Bye.
Everybody. My friend, another Randy here. My Long Island people may have left already. A guy with a very long beard over here. How are you doing? Nice to see you, bro. Keith, yes, everybody. Such a pleasure to know you, even if it's on Zoom. Nice lady, Jane. How are you, Jane? Yes, this very comfortable looking Sarah in there somewhere. My friend Noor, fantastic. Miss having coffee with you. Sharon, yes. Sharon, don't you'll never get run over by a seal now. You're inside, they can't find you. All right, Mike, thank you so much, Mike. And hey, Alex, nice to see you there. Yeah, and Keith and everyone else, if I can try to get everybody. Randy from Canada, how are you, Randy?
Doing well, Paul.
Monique is here also.
Yes, I know.
This is Diana up here in the wedge between the two couch thing. Diana, yes. Jill, AA, Jeffrey. Jeffrey was the guy with the Fenway. Was he? There's Mike.
Very good. Great memory, Paul. I did have I could give you just a little taste today.
Yeah.
Of Fenway Park.
I left.
There you go.
Jim, there's a Sat, I think, Sat with the dog, and others. All right. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And meeting. Leave me.